Hello and welcome everybody to part 3 of the AMP series, a series designed to amplify the talents, messages, and creative endeavors of Indigenous people across Turtle Island. We are now in part 3. Today we have Isha Tokas, who will be interviewing Mangeshig. He's calling in from Vancouver, BC, but hailing from Ontario. So thank you so much for joining the call today. And I'm going to flip it over to Isha to get us started.
Hi, okay. So, an introduction of Joshua Mangeshig. He is an Ojibwe woodland artist from Barrie, Ontario. He is a member of the Skwachay First Nation group, and he has been living in Vancouver, BC since 2015. He is currently an artist in residence at Skwachay. Is that? Okay,
yeah.
Thanks. Lodge in downtown Vancouver practicing his acrylic painting and illustration techniques. His work aims to promote and reclaim traditional Ojibwe stories and teachings, while modernizing the woodland style and bringing it into mainstream focus through a variety of mediums. And an introduction of the Halton Youth Initiative. The goal of the Halton Youth Initiative is to elevate youth voice and empower youth to have a positive impact in the communities of North Oakville, Acton, Aldershaw, and Milton. The project is youth-led, with youth identifying local issues and identifying strategies for possible solutions. Activities are grounded in an asset-based approach and will focus on relationship building.
Awesome. Thanks, Isha. And before we get into our interview component, I'd just like to do a quick land acknowledgement, which we know as part of our project is only just scratching the surface, and we've been dedicated to taking some concrete actions. But I would like to recognize that the land that we work, live, volunteer, and play on is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Attawandarock, and the Anishinaabeg. And one of the things that I was really reflecting on this weekend after my papa's 98th birthday party was just how land can really hold memories for us. So after we left the birthday party, my godmother sent some photos of me and my cousin 30 years prior, 25 years prior, and 20 years prior in the same neighborhood, on the same plot of land, enjoying our time together as a family. And it really, really just drove that message home to me that the land really can really retain a lot of memories for ourselves. So I'm just imploring all of you to think about what kind of memory are you leaving on the land that you live and work and play on this week, next week, and forevermore. Because you can leave something positive and plant something beautiful. And just on the flip side, we can leave something toxic and something bad. So I think that's really just something I reflected on this weekend, is just what kind of seeds are we sowing for the memories that we're creating. Back over to you, Isha.
All right, so we have a couple of questions for you, Mangeshig. So the first group of questions are going to be about your general background. So the first question is, tell us about your early years. Where were you born? Where is home to you?
Okay, yeah. So I was born in Barrie, Ontario. I lived with my dad for most of my childhood. My parents got divorced when I was 2 years old. And so I lived with him just throughout. We moved to like 5 or 6 different apartments in Barrie, Ontario, until we got a nice house in Midhurst. And yeah, went to high school there, and eventually moved to Toronto when I was 18, and then lived in Toronto for a couple of years, and then moved to Halifax because I met one of my exes there in Toronto, and she was from Halifax. So that's where I started painting, was in Halifax. I didn't really know what I wanted to do growing up, and I was pretty depressed for a lot of my childhood. So it took me a long time to really just figure out what my future was or what my purpose was, and just find some general direction in my life. So I didn't really start painting till I was in my early 20s, around 21 or 22. And I sort of just did it as a hobby. I work full time as a screen printer. Um, and yeah, just started painting in the woodland style. I didn't even really know too much about my culture at the time too, just because my dad is white, and like I didn't have it really in my childhood. Whereas that's all my mom's family is the Anishinaabe. So like I'd go see my mom's family, usually visit her every other weekend, and usually spend the summers there. But I wasn't really immersed in it very much. So I just randomly started painting in the woodland style just because I wanted to reconnect with that part of me, and sort of learn more about what it meant. And I guess I just had like a natural knack for it. Just I posted it to Facebook at the time, and people really enjoyed it. And I would go to markets like on the weekend and stuff and sell a few pieces and whatnot. Then I decided to get into graphic design because I always enjoyed Photoshop, using Photoshop and editing photos. And that's where I learned how to make like logos and design posters and stuff, and how to draw like on a tablet, or and sort of edit things on the computer. Well, I actually didn't learn how to draw on the tablet then. I'd draw it out with like a pen and marker, and then scanned it into Photoshop, and then sort of color it on Photoshop. And then sort of, I guess it's just over the years, things just slowly picked up. After I was living there for 5 years over on the East Coast, and then I moved all the way over to the other side of so-called Canada, to Vancouver. And then that's where I found the lodge, the residency here. And sort of that's when my career started to pick up. Like I was able to quit my full-time job and do make artwork full-time. Just in the past, it's like 2-3 years. So it's definitely been a blessing living here. I don't know, just jobs sort of kept coming to me. Like I always held the belief that if I worked just like on myself and tried to do the best like work that I could, good things will come to me. And that's sort of what happened. Like I did this Google Doodle in 2000. Yeah, it was last year. And like they just emailed me out of nowhere for that. And I was like, okay, sweet. And then like I got like an literary agent, and she got me a bunch of these children's books deals, illustrating children's books. So that's what I'm doing now. And I just sort of take what comes to me in a way, whatever I feel like is in the direction that I want to go to. And I don't really have like a concrete idea of what I want to, what direction I want to go. I just like know that like at the core of my beliefs, like I want to like help people. I want to inspire youth, Indigenous youth. Like I want to like learn more about my language and teach that. So I just sort of take on jobs where I feel like will bring me closer to those sort of beliefs or goals and dreams. And that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm ending the residency here end of November, but I just got a lease at a studio in Victoria. I'm gonna start a print shop, start printing a bunch of art prints, and still do the children's books. I'm working on my third one now with Anik Press. And I just got some grant money to make a language app with the language illustrations I've been doing. So it's going to be a busy winter. That's where I'm at now.
Well, thank you for explaining that question. So you mentioned that you were in a residency, right? At the lodge. Could you elaborate on what it's like living there?
Yeah, for sure. So it's a 3-year residency. You get subsidized rent. You get a bachelor apartment, and yeah, subsidized rent. So it's only $400 a month, and yeah, you live with 24 other artists. So it's kind of like a hotel they have here, and they use 2 of the floors for the artists, and they're all indigenous artists from all over the continent. Um, yeah, and you just sort of connect with them, network with them. There's events all the time where you could just go to. They hold a bunch of like they hold like a beating night. So you have to get like your participation hours. You have to go to these events to like get these participation hours, like a certain amount every month. Which I just like to go to anyways, just because you get to meet people and like I enjoyed the beating and just talking with all the artists here. Um, yeah, and then there's the shared studio, which I'm in right now. Um, so all the visual artists get the studio to use. And there's some also there's like a drama room for all the like theater artists or movie artists. Um, yeah, and yeah, you just get the shared studio. You get to sort of be a part of this community. I think that's the biggest part is just the community. I sort of feel like at home here in Vancouver. Whereas before, when I lived here, like before this place, like I just kind of felt displaced, um, and really not like it wasn't really in the best, place. But yeah, once I moved here, like and just building that community, it really um, made things a lot easier, made living here a lot easier. Um, yeah, and then like the program officer, they help you sort of push you in the right direction. You have to write like your 3-year goals, and then you have to have like meetings with the program officer every 6 months to review the goals and see if you're on track or not. So they help you and push you towards your goals and help you achieve them. Yeah, it's great. And yeah, there's the gallery on the main floor too. So you could put your artwork up in there, and it's a good place. Like I had 2 solo shows here. Just if you just ask them, like they'll be like, yeah, sure. So it's like that's like the hardest thing to do is finding a space to present your work. So it's been a huge benefit.
So you said that you needed a goal, right? So could you elaborate on what that goal was?
Yeah, my goals, well, they changed throughout the years. I think when I first originally moved here, I wanted to start a print shop and I wanted to um, have a few sort of gallery shows. Like I had never had any gallery shows before. So yeah, I had my first 2 here, and then I had one at the Art Gallery of Sudbury just last year, and then like I have some banners up in City of Vancouver Library. Um, yeah, just like goals like there's supposed to be like SMART goals, so you have to I forget what the SMART acronym stands for at the moment, but they're supposed to just help you. They're supposed to be like super accurate sort of goals. And yeah, you just write out like 2 or 3 like career ones, and then 2 or 3 like personal ones, like on a personal level, like I want to like connect more with my family, be closer with my family, and then you just write out like what steps you're going to take to get there. So I'd be like, oh, I want to call my mom. I should call my mom like every few days, or call my dad as well. Um, yeah, and then sort of like, oh, I want to be in better shape. You write that down. I'll go to the gym like 3 to 5 days a week. Yeah, and then the program officer will just review them with you, and then they'll check on you and see if you're like following through with your what you set out, and just be like that accountability sort of person in your life, which is awesome. It's really great. um, Other goals, I think yeah, I have like the children's book goals. I finished my first few children's books. I did those ones. I'm finally getting my print shop. I just bought a studio in Victoria to start that print shop. Um, yeah, that's probably the biggest one is be a print shop owner. um, I guess like the language sort of illustrations I've been doing. Like I did a goal for that. So I wanted to do 100 illustrations. So I kind of stopped recently, but I only have like 7 left. But I applied for a grant to try to get funding for that, and yeah, I just heard back from them last week. I got money for a language app, so I got to learn how to. I got to learn how to make a language app. I don't have no idea how to code, so I asked for money to go to school to learn how to code. So I got to do that too. Yeah, just goals like that.
So you're opening up a print shop, right? So
Yep.
What are you planning to do inside that print shop?
I want to do more resistance art, banners, like sort of like I've been doing these like I've been doing these patches, land back patches. So I want to get more into this, move in this direction as well. Um, there's just so much going on in the colonies. Yeah. Yeah, there's just so much going on all across Canada. It's really insane. I just want to do what I can to help out. Try to raise money for groups that need it. Yeah, and you know, I've always been told the resistance should be beautiful, and I want to make it beautiful. Or the revolution should be beautiful, you know. So yeah, I want to do that, and I want to sort of inspire people to sort of get into that sort of work as well, and sort of become more radicalized in a way. Yeah, that's my main goal. And I also want to just like do fine art prints, sell my own fine art prints, and I want to hold workshops to sort of teach the youth in the area how to screen print and make their own sort of artwork with printing materials. Yeah.
So, is there any advice you would give your younger self?
Yeah, geez, it's a good question. I'd say don't be so hard on yourself. Don't try so hard. 'Cause I always felt like I wasn't worth it or wasn't worth anything. So I'd always get down on myself and like I'd go through these like cycles of depression. Um, yeah, and it was all in my head, you know. And there's also like outside factors as well, but yes, over the years I've learned to just sort of um, be self-compassionate, treat yourself with love in everything you do. Um, yeah, and just don't be so hard on yourself because I feel like not too many people actually know what they're doing in life. You know, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just trying to do what I can and do the best job I can. And yeah, judgment can have like a huge burden on your shoulders when you sort of judge yourself and judge other people. And you gotta lift that sort of burden off your shoulders so you can work better and be a better person.
Well, I think what you're doing right now is really great, right? So moving on to next few questions. How was your transition from high school to young adult life? Would you do anything differently? Would you do anything the same?
Yeah, I try to figure out um, sort of my sort of core beliefs, or I try to figure out what my purpose is in life at a younger age. Um, yeah, and try to give myself direction because once you have that vision of what you want to be or direction where you want to go, it doesn't matter like how you get there. Like as long as you have that dream, like opportunities will come to you and like you'll find a way there. But if you don't have that sort of direction or motivation or purpose, then you won't really go anywhere. If you don't have those big dreams, you won't go anywhere. So yeah, for me, and that's like a key part of your life too. That transition from high school to young adult. Um, you need that direction to, because you're just kind of thrown out into the world, and it's kind of hard to sort of figure things out sometimes. But if you have like a strong purpose, you'll find a way. And like that purpose sort of changes over time too, and you'll always be reworking it. You'll always be reviewing it and changing it. But like just over the years, it'll become sort of more specific, and you'll have a stronger sort of view if you just kind of chipping away at it, sort of deal. Yeah, but if you sort of like try to figure it out when you're younger and spend a lot of time doing that, yeah, it'll be beneficial in the long run. If you try to just figure out, like, don't just go to like college because your parents feel like you should go there, or like one of your best friends is going to a certain college. Try to figure out what you want to do and where you really want to be.
So speaking of directions, is there anyone or anything that put you in the direction you are now?
Jeez. I don't know. I feel like for a few summers in high school, I went on the powwow trail with my uncle, and that always like lifted my spirits, because like throughout the school year, I was just like really sad and depressed. But once summer came, like I got so excited I could go on the powwow trail and see all the dancers. Like I'd sit at the drum and sing with them, even though I was terrible at singing. And then I'd feel like rejuvenated uh, going back into school, but it usually always sort of left once I was back in school, But those summers really, and and then like later on in my life, like I wanted to sort of learn more about like just the songs and sort of just all about the culture. I think that was probably a pretty big one. So I'd go with my uncle and like my mom and a couple of my cousins. Yeah, just along the Powell Trail, all along Georgian Bay. That was really fun. And we'd camp every weekend. Another one, maybe, yeah, graphic design, like taking graphic design in college, just because as an artist, it's hard to make a living as an artist. And if you're just gonna like paint, it's hard to like actually sort of get started. But if you have like other avenues that you could go down, like with graphic design, it opens up a whole wealth of avenues. Like I was doing logos for a while, like posters for like bands and just like events. And yeah, it led me into like illustration as well. And then that sort of led into like screen printing. Yeah, along the path I learned screen printing, and I just try to do as much as I can. And I feel like graphic design sort of opened up a lot of avenues, just because it's like everything's moving digitally, right? And learning how to use like Photoshop and Illustrator, it's like it's such a benefit, if you're deciding to be an artist, like knowing how to like rasterize or vectorize images and stuff. It's even, yeah, it's just, even if you want to be like a fine artist, it's so useful to have the computer skills to go along with it. Yeah, and then yeah, probably Skwachay as well. Just coming to the lodge here, it's been definitely changed a lot.
So moving on to your adulthood, so like current life, how has been living on the West Coast impacted your artistic career?
It's a good question. Um, I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that. I guess just yeah, just the people I've met out here would probably be the most sort of impactful. So there's a lot going on with like land defense, like what's going on in Wet'suwet'en, with the pipelines and everything. Just meeting people who are like so passionate about protecting the land. Um, I think that's been a huge inspiration for me, and yeah, I want to go in that sort of direction with my career, and yeah, I think that's probably been the biggest influence living out here in Vancouver. There's just yeah, lots going on with political stuff, and not the greatest like sort of stuff like with pipelines and whatnot, and like the salmon and everything. But it's yeah, it's I don't know, it gives you strength in a way. Gives you a sort of purpose. Purpose. That's what it's all about. Yeah, and just meeting people who are like so dedicated. It's great.
Is there anything you miss about home?
Um, yeah. There's lots of miss. I kind of want to move back soon. I'll probably move back next summer. I'll build a cabin on the res there. Yeah, it's my family mostly. It's my family. Um, yeah, that's just like the summers on Wissahickon. It was great. It's like lakes, beautiful lake country. Lots of fishing, good fishing. Um, I don't know. Yeah, just the Powa Trail too. Like there's Powas out here, but they're sort of different. Um, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, family. Mostly just family. Wish I could see my family every day. Yeah, that's it.
You've mentioned it earlier in our past conversations, but could you elaborate more on what or who inspired you to make art?
What or who? Okay. My whole family's sort of been. It was a creative family. There's like everyone on my mom's side crafters. Like my grandma and my mom, both are quill box makers. My uncle's a really great painter. Um, I'd say I don't know. Like I'd say my mom's probably been the biggest influence, just because she always got me and my brother to draw all the time when we were growing up. Like I'd carry around this little suitcase full of markers and pencil crayons and stuff. Um, and yeah, I'd always draw on my school tests and everything. Um, and then yeah, for like influence with my art, I'd say like Norval Morrisow's definitely been my biggest influence. Yeah, just because his artwork's just like so powerful, and like I don't really get like too much of like a feeling when I see artwork sometimes, but like I saw Norval's at just the art gallery of Hamilton recently, and it just gave me this huge feeling like nothing ever has before. Like this, yeah, it's like yeah, there's just like crazy magical power to his paintings. Um, so yeah, I've always like sort of studied his style and tried to replicate it, but also have my own sort of style as well. Um, Use it as influence. Yeah, and I just like that he wanted to tell our stories and keep our culture alive. Um, that's sort of what pushed me in that direction as well. Was just how he was so knowledgeable about all the stories and everything. and that was his like biggest purpose. Is that's why I painted so much, just because like he wanted to keep the culture alive. Um, yeah, that's yeah, Norval, cool guy.
So you do painting, right?
Painting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't painted in like a year, but I do
Uh,
paint. I'm a painter. Yeah.
so what's your favorite, what mediums do you use, and what's your favorite one out of all of them?
Acrylic. I like acrylic painting. Um, Watercolor's cool too. I like watercolor. Blend in colors with that. You can, make some cool designs with like dipping sort of color in a blob of water. Um, yeah, it's a acrylic for sure. I've always just mainly been acrylic painter. Um, yeah, I just find it's the easiest to work with because you can always like paint over stuff if you make a mistake. Just paint over it in enough layers. You just paint over it. Um, yeah, I like gouache as well. Like for smaller paintings, sometimes I do like gouache. Um, yeah, I think I haven't tried oil. I feel like it dries too slow. I can't work with that. I like acrylic because it dries fast. I always like to work as fast as I can. Some, um, um, yeah, yeah, acrylic for sure.
So continuing on the subject of art, could you explain to us your creative process?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, I kind of just I don't really have a process. It's different. It's different for like every piece. Like I learned in school that I should draw out like 10 different ideas before I actually go on to the rough draft, um and then onto the final. Like this whole sort of long and boring process. So I've done that like with more of the graphic design sort of work. But I don't like that process just because it's like um I don't know, it feels too mechanical in a way, like you're a robot. Um I like to just sort of use my intuition. That's what Norval did too. Like I was reading about him, and it was all just intuition. That's he could just like I like read I forget an article. I forget who said it, but like he said like the quote on Norval was like he'd never seen a painter before who would just be able to like just start painting and not stop until the painting was finished. Um, and yeah, so I always just like felt inspired by that, trying to like just use my intuition and go with it. Like yeah, Norval, you just have like a sketch, just a black and white sketch, and that's all I'd have to use for reference, and then you just paint this miraculously beautiful piece. Um, and I'm like, yeah, if Norval could do that, like I could do that too. So I like to try to do that. Um, and yeah, I've had a lot of great pieces turn out that way. So um, yeah, that's a great process I find, and it sort of trains your sort of spiritual side, um, and your intuition. Um, yeah, but other processes like if some like I've planned out a few shows where I'll plan out the entire series of paintings and I'll plan out the colors I want to use and sort of plan out like the sort of theme, and then just try to stick within those parameters. Um, yeah, I don't know, like when I'm drawing, like I teach these classes online and I have a sort of process, like I'll draw sort of the basic shapes and then I'll add in the smaller details and then I'll do the black outlines and then we'll do the colors, the pattern work within it. So I teach that to the kids. Um, yeah, that's it. That's my that's my that's my story.
So you mentioned you work with kids, right? So you teach them like process and everything?
Yeah.
So what's it like teaching them? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, it's fun. It's all on like Zoom. It's all on like computer like this, and it's with Connected North. So they um have a bunch of different content providers that they call on to teach different classes. So I teach like this basic woodland art 101 sort of course. So I just it's like an hour long, and I'll teach just like the basics of like I'll teach the characteristics of what woodland art is and what how you could sort of describe it and whatnot, and then I'll sort of teach a bit of its history, talk about Norval a lot, you know, sometimes I talk about myself, and then we'll do like a drawing. I have like a selection of like four different drawings that we could do, and so we draw through it together. And I got the document camera so they could see my hand drawing, and and I have my iPad beside so they could see the final finished product as we're drawing and everything. So yeah, that's fun. And then I just sort of talk through what I'm doing, and then like maybe tell a story or two. And yeah, that's really fun, and kids really seem to like it. And we done like Baby Yoda a few times. Kids love that one. So yeah, I enjoy doing that. It's great.
So we love your current series, coupling digital illustration with language reclamation. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? What inspired you to start the series?
Um, yeah, I don't know. I was planning it for a while, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I just wanted sort of something to do daily, so I can just be more consistent with my working schedule. So I try to do them first thing in the morning, sort of as a warm up before I worked on my children's books. And I just wanted to learn more about my language and try to teach that. Because I have a hard time really practicing my language. Like I'm still very bad at it. So I wanted to draw those and so hopefully like get myself learning it on a more consistent basis as well. Um, yeah, it's been a cool process, and everyone seems to really enjoy it. So I'm like really excited to make the app. Um, it should be really interesting. I've never done anything like that before. So I want to make it like an interactive game. So it's like sort of a multiple choice. Like I want to make it like kind of like really addicting for kids, so kids can get like, oh, so really into the language at a young age. So I want it to be like a fun game with like rewards and stuff, and like achievements and everything. Um, just something, yeah, trying to make it as fun as possible. Um, that's the goal. Mainly just for yeah, just get kids into it at a young age, and just for us like anyone any age really, just something really fun. Um, yeah, so I kind of I had the idea of a language app a few years ago, and I was like bouncing out ideas with a few people, and I didn't really know how to do it because I was like because I'm not like I don't know the language very well, you know. I'm still learning. Um, so yeah, I kind of just like I'm gonna do all these illustrations and I'm making app, and then yeah, so that's what's going on. Yeah. So yeah, it's supposed to be like it's supposed to help teach the language through a visual like connection instead of having the English translation. So like a couple like language speakers told me like that's the hardest part for a lot of people is just having to learn the language with the English translation. Um, just really confuses people sometimes. So like I want to make the app using as little English as possible. so they'll just see the image of what the word's supposed to mean, and then like a few, and then there'll be like a multiple choice of different Anishinaabe words, and they have to pick the correct one. And then hopefully a few more game modes. That's the main one. Yeah. So visual. I forget what that's called, like visual learning or something. But there's a more like scientific term for it. But yeah, that's sort of how it started, I guess.
Okay, so we have maybe one or two more questions. So one of them being, is there any advice you would give youth who potentially want to start a career in art?
Career in art. Yeah, just I'd say just focus on your work. Like I was saying before, just focus on being the best like artist that you can be, I guess. Well, it's a very delicate balance. You gotta be like push yourself to the best you can, but you also can't be too hard on yourself, you know. And you also can't like get in that mode where you're just like, if you make something you don't like, you're just like really hard on yourself, like, oh, I'm such a bad artist and whatnot. You got to find a good balance where you're enjoying it and you're pushing yourself, you're challenging yourself. So yeah, and then if like for me, like I just focused on that and just focused on my work and trying to make it the best it could be, and let like you know the sort of like the clients come to me, and all the opportunities come to me, because I didn't really like go out looking for work, you know. So I don't like I was very shy. I was always very shy growing up, so I didn't want to do that. I also have people come to me. I just want people to come to me and ask me for work. Um, so yeah, I just posted on social media, and then like I get most of my work from Instagram. Like people just like DM me or send me an email, just from seeing my work on social media. Yeah, just.
That's what we did. I just found you on Instagram.
And yeah, I feel like social media is such a huge benefit nowadays. Like they didn't have it back in the past, so you'd have to like walk around to different galleries and sort of show your work and have a portfolio. So for like social media, it's very beneficial for like and for artists, because you know artists are usually like really shy or usually like really awkward and don't like social interactions. So um, yeah, for me it's like I like being on I don't like being on social media, but I like having it to post my artwork. Like I wouldn't have it if I didn't need it for my work. But um, yeah, it's good. It has its pros and cons, you know, pros and cons. Yeah. I think that's is that enough? Or, okay.
Yep, that's good. Okay, so that's all that's all we have for now. Do you have any questions from the audience? Okay, maybe not.
No, that's
So,
okay.
you might have a few more questions. Let me just check for a second. Are there any, do you have other styles of art, or do you just stick to one? And which ones do you like using the most?
I feel like I have a lot of different styles that I use, but when I talk to people about it, they always say like, "Oh, you have a recognizable style. You know, like you have something." But I feel like I sort of change up the smaller details depending on, you know, I guess what client I'm working with, or sort of what medium I'm using. Yeah, and I used to do like band posters where like sort of like psychedelic bands and stuff. So I used to have like a different style for that, but then I strictly went to woodland art a few years ago. Because I felt it was important. It was important to restore the culture. Yeah, that's so. I just do woodland right now. And yeah, I don't know. I like the when I'm using just like black and white, I'll do more like detailed pattern work. But if I'm using like with acrylics, I'll do more like a sort of it looks kind of sloppy-ish style, but I don't know. It's more has more like I feel like an emotion. I'll try to like bring up my emotion. Like when I paint with acrylics, I try to like use my intuition more and just go for it in a way. Because I feel like that's more my personal outlet is the acrylic painting. Whereas when I'm illustrating, it's more so I feel like it's more technical, and you could get a lot more. I could get a lot more details with like a pen. Um, yeah, like different mediums like make me feel different ways, or make me do things in different ways. Um, like when I'm working on computer, I got a tablet now. I just got a tablet, so I can pretty much do anything I want with that. But before I got the tablet, I was like clicking all the different colors and everything. So I try to sort of keep things a little more basic or simplified. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it depends on the medium for me mostly. Yeah.
When creating artwork, do you have any inspirations?
Yes, I do. I do. Well, I try to do stories. Um, I did a show. Let's see if I got this photo here. So these are the banners in the library. So there's six big ones, six big banners. They all tell the story of the Seven Fires prophecy. So it's a traditional Ojibwe Anishinaabe story. I've done a show on like Nana Bojo. So I like to try to paint the traditional stories, but I feel like I don't know them too well. I've never had a teacher, so it's kind of like a learning process for me, and like I'll paint these stories and sort of learn about them as I'm painting. And then like I did a show just about like my family and just living back home. It's called Home in Ojibwe. I did like land defense work, like the land back patches. Yeah, that's an inspiration, I guess. And I don't know, I just like making yeah, like the language things, language, just wanting to rejuvenate the language, or recover the language. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like when I paint, I'll just like try to just paint what I'm feeling, a lot of my feelings, try to sort of understand what's going on inside, it's kind of a reflection process. Yeah, I don't really know. There's lots of different inspirations. Sometimes like I'll see some artists on Instagram and like how they did like a painting in a certain way, and I'll get inspired to like try to use that element in one of my paintings. So, like if they use a certain color in a certain way, or like draw, yeah, like I'll, sometimes I'll get inspired just by like, yeah, just seeing other artists. Um, I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I like animals too. Animals are fun.
Oh, Isha, you look frozen. She might be frozen. She hasn't blinked in a while.
Okay.
Well, it was so nice.
Yeah.
Oh, are you there? There you are. Oh, yeah, your sound's really choppy.
Sorry.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay. I'll wrap up for us then, because it's about that time. We really appreciate you coming on the call today with us to talk about your art, talk about language reclamation, about some of your experiences out in BC. Raven in the chat said that she'll be sure to download it. So we'll be watching your journey on Instagram. Yeah, we just really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us all today. For the third interview in the AMP series, designed to share the talents, messages, and stories of Indigenous creatives across Turtle Island. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming onto the call and for tuning in. And thank you so much, Josh Mangeshig from Wasauksing First Nation near Barrie, Ontario, coming at us from downtown Vancouver. We really appreciate the time you spent with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. And yeah, thanks for all the questions. I had a great time.
Oh, there's Isha. Maybe she can wave goodbye. All right. Take care, everybody.